Alrighty. Welcome back. Tuesday podcast, as always, here. Vice back in the studio again. Seriously, if anybody else wants to ever join us, just hit us up. Let us know. We'd be more than happy to get you on. We had to figure out a new setup here, but we can do that. Dude, exciting week here that just happened. I am we got a great show lined up for you. We're going to do power rankings. We're going to talk about league history, kind of go over some news from this week, and then lastly, we'll finish it out with matchups per usual. This is a really interesting week upcoming here. We got a lot of matchups that can shake up the league and how that's all going to go. So
yeah, it's going to be a record-breaking fab week. Lots of different people you can pick up on the waiver wire.
So many injuries going on.
How much money will people have left? I mean, it's only week 6.
Yeah, usually, I was surprised in week 1. Nobody blew. Well, I think maybe 1 or 2 people blew all their fab right away. But, now we're really starting to kind of get into it where players could be out for the whole season if they're going to get injured, versus being able to come back later in the season.
It really talks about or makes the importance of keeping your fab till these injuries start to happen. I know, I spent my fab right away. Pat traded his fab away, and then I think Phillips spent all his fab on Le'Veon Bell. So now when you really need somebody or when you have an injury on your team, this is a way you can kind of recover for that and make up for the guys that you're losing.
Yeah, and I'm just going to take a look here at what we got for fab left. Spitzer, somehow 150 fab right now.
I think he's got most of Pat's fab.
Yeah, there's a handful of people. I know Kirill spent a lot of money to be able to get David Montgomery's replacement. I think it was like 83 fab last week. So
and that paid off for him right away.
Oh, absolutely.
Damian Williams got like 17 points for him.
Yep. It was nice. I went with the budget option on that. I got the backup who, got some run, but Damian Williams got all the end zone work and yeah. But either way, dude, really excited here. We had a lot of weird stuff happen over the weekend. Matt Nagy still has a job.
3-2, actually.
Yeah.
Showing us up here on the podcast. We actually lost an overreaction, too.
Yes.
John Cruden is out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen the emails or if you've read the emails at all about what he wrote, but there was actually in 2014, I think, there was mention of this podcast and how shitty it was in one of those emails.
Well, it serves him right. Obviously,
it's unacceptable.
We offer the best podcast, for fantasy football here.
Have you even listened? Have you been in our league, John?
Yeah, it's I obviously I don't know exactly what was said in those emails and phone calls and everything that was recorded, but there's no place in the league for that.
Yeah, it seems like the right move, just to move on and cut ties, and I think he knew that too. And hopefully the Raiders can continue the success they've been having this year, because I think they had a really good game plan, and to kind of break it up like that would be a shame.
Yeah, I agree with you. I kind of think he saw the writing on the wall before this was even kind of going down, and honestly, the Raiders save a ton of money. I mean, they paid him an unfathomable amount of money, and now that he's gone, that they are good to go on that. So
I'm not sure that Chipotle would employ John Gruden based on what has transpired.
Not for those.
So if Nagy is still on the chopping block, if his name still comes up, there's still going to be a spot open for him.
All right, perfect. Good to hear. But yeah, a lot of, like we said, a lot of different crazy stuff happened this week. Monday Night Football was unbelievably amazing. Lamar Jackson really showing us how good he is and how much he's evolved as a player, as a passer specifically. First 400-yard career passing game.
He said Ravens franchise history.
Yep.
Passing yards.
I think he had 100 yards on the ground on top of that.
I think it was like 60 or 70. They failed to hit the record. They didn't get the 100-yard record.
Okay. One of the things that I noticed in that game too, that it's just so crazy that Lamar Jackson went from literally almost costing them the game with that fumble in the red zone that resulted in a score, and then to go down, I believe 22-9. Yeah, 8 or something like that. And then for him to just lead a charge back. Honestly, I've been a big Lamar fan. However, I just didn't see him developing as a passer, and I was kind of concerned about that going forward and how that would affect him. But to see him and how he's developed this year as a passer, I mean, it does help when Hollywood Brown actually decides to play up to the level that we've expected him to play to.
Right. Well, Jalen Hurst did the same thing on Sunday against the Panthers. They were losing for the majority of that game. Jalen Hurts sitting on 1 fantasy point. I think he had like 50 yards passing and a fumble. And the fourth quarter started, and the guy just took the game over. He finished with 23 fantasy points, 2 rushing touchdowns, led 2 big drives. Panthers just absolutely gave that game away.
Yeah, that's it. You know, that just kind of blows my mind. You know, Cardinals still holding strong here. They didn't play fantastic, but that interdivisional matchup, that's going to be a tough one to play every time. I mean, I don't want to play in the NFC West.
That's a tough-ass division.
It's a really tough division.
That's something that played in. I traded Russell Wilson this week, and sorry, Justin.
Yeah,
that was part of my thinking, and that is I wanted to get out of that division because you got to play the Rams twice, the Cardinals twice, and the 49ers twice, who are no slouch themselves.
Yeah, another good game, too, that Browns Chargers game. I was saying that was kind of the, you know, that to me was the game of the week until Monday night happened, and obviously that was, you know, a whole nother thing. I believe the Browns are the first NFL team to ever lose a game while having scored over 40 points, having 500 yards of total offense, and not a single turnover.
Unbelievable.
So
I was watching the game with Michael and Jackie, and they're literally picking Eckler up and pushing him into the end zone. Like,
oh my God. Yeah. just to get him in. He
Points
clearly didn't want to go in.
Like,
He slides down inbounds at the 2.
Yeah.
Literally just stands back behind the line after he gets the handoff, and they literally picked him up and moved him in. That was so funny to watch.
Doing everything he can not to score, and they just pick him up and push him right into the end zone. Like, you couldn't do that to Fournette maybe one time.
Yeah, and how many fourth down conversions the Chargers had that game? I think they just knew going into it that after a while that they couldn't stop the run. They couldn't prevent them from staying on the field, so they just were like, we got to keep them off the field as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to pick up some of my fantasy guys sometimes and just push them into the end zone.
Mike Williams, another big game in that one too.
33 points, number 1 fantasy receiver.
I can't believe that we even have to have this conversation, but he's absolutely balling out. I mean, he always did, but then he would fall from 100 feet in the air. He'd jump to catch the ball, and then he'd fall down, and something would get injured. It's going to bound to happen.
Herbert's a gunslinger, man. He likes taking his shots. He's accurate. He's taking those long shots to Mike Williams this year versus the underneath stuff, and it's paying off for him. You see that too with we were making the joke about the Donald Parham guy. It looks like, who the hell is this guy? Do you come from Cub Foods?
Yeah.
Like, hey, man, come down to the stadium. We'll throw you some bombs. But another tall target. Yeah. Justin Herbert's putting the balls where those guys can only get him, and they're going up and getting them.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Obviously, I could see that being an AFC playoff matchup, possibly a championship matchup.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Browns are the real deal as well, and good on the Chargers for being able to overcome that tandem running back. I believe Nick Chubb is the running back 8 on the season, and Kareem Hunt is the running back 5. They almost had different stat lines. Nick Chubb, I believe, ran for 161 yards versus Kareem Hunt, I think, only had 67. But ultimately, I think they ended up with 23.4 fantasy points for Kareem Hunt, who that did get a stat correction. It was 23.5, and they both had that. And then Kareem Hunt got
pulled forward,
lost a yard or whatever.
Yeah, what a backfield. I mean, they've got a great offensive game plan. It's working for them. They're not asking Baker to do too much. And because they have to pay so much attention to that running game, it's opening up passing and making Baker's life a whole lot easier.
Yeah, they scored 42 points, and Odell Beckham Jr. had 2 catches for 20 yards.
Sounds about right.
So
nobody needs Odell. Who's going for the most fab this week? Geno Smith?
Oh, man. I honestly have no idea who's going to go for the most fab. Trying to think of what running back just got hurt this week, and I'm spacing
CEH is out. So
yep.
Darrell Williams.
Yep, he could go really, really high. Devontae Booker as well. Booker. I think that one's going to be a really high fab. But I've heard rumors of the Chiefs possibly working out another running back. Is that true?
It looks like right before we went on the air, they signed Eli McGuire.
Okay.
I think he was on the Jets before. So I think they were looking at Marlon Mack maybe, but I don't think
that's the one that I was hearing.
I don't think that's happening. They'd already signed somebody to their practice squad, so could see a Ravens situation where they bring a couple guys in, and then it's just a clusterfuck. You don't know what's going to happen.
Well, and one of the things too, I have CEH in another league, and he was already in a timeshare. So even when he comes back, I don't know if he's going to, take over as the lead back anymore. They might try to ease him back in and do that. The three-headed monster kind of style thing that seems to be the trend in the league now.
I think the days of the lead back are over. I mean, you got a couple teams left with them, and as we get into injury season here, maybe some teams are going to be forced into using like one guy, but I think that's the ideal situation for most of these teams is to use 2-3 guys, keep them fresh, keep them rotating.
I agree.
The Ravens aren't even using their best running back. He had 6 touches yesterday, and doesn't matter to them.
I know. Well, and the fact that their best back now was their third best back to start the league. So
yeah. I mean, even at the Ravens, if they had J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards and Tyson Williams, I think you'd still see that rotation. There would never be like a consistent guy each week. It'd be who they're playing, matchup based. If they're playing the Buccaneers, they're going to throw more to J.K. Dobbins. If they're playing the Dolphins, they're going to run more.
Right. All right, so I think that's enough news and notes. As always, just make sure to drop a like, comment down below if you want us to talk about anything. Did we miss something? Just, keep us updated. The more feedback we get on the podcast, the better it can be for you guys in the league.
I tried to go sleeveless this week, but it's like 30 degrees out today, so I had to turn around and put the sweatshirt on. So I apologize for that. I should have went
sleeveless. I didn't even think about that. Damn it. Damn it. All right, let's get into the next segment here. We did this, I believe we did it week 1, or week 2, week 1. I don't remember which week we did it, but we talked about power rankings right away, and it was kind of fun to do it, right after the draft to see. But now we're a couple weeks in, and there's been a lot of trades. There's been injuries. Obviously, there's been a ton of just crazy high-scoring weeks for certain teams. So I thought it would be really interesting to kind of break down, this new power rankings after 5 weeks of play. I will start mine off. I am number 1. I have Mr. Spice Melange himself, the Kyle Spitzer here. He's sitting at 9-1. He has scored the league high 700, almost 2 points. He's 150 fab. He's not dealing with injuries. He has, 2 of the best quarterbacks, Tom Brady. He's got James Robinson, Antonio Gibson. The guy has just got a stud team. I mean, Dawson Knox. I don't think anybody saw Dawson Knox having the season that he's having. And
what a pickup.
Number 2 tight end on the season right now. The fact that he put up the league high 176 points and Kyler Murray had 14 points.
That's insane.
He could have easily broken 200, which would have been the league high score, which we'll talk about later today.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. Obviously, Spitzer's number 1. He's on a 2-game win streak. He didn't hit the median last week. Had kind of a down week with his quarterbacks. But historically, so far, what we've done this podcast, our favorite segments that we've done have been about the league and keeping it home and talking about you guys. So that's some of the feedback we've gotten. So we're going to do a lot more segments that are geared towards what's happening in our league. But I played Spitzer last week. His team's so tough, which kind of a good segue into our number 2, which is Don, who actually has the same record as Spitz.
Yep.
Sitting at 9-1, currently on a 5-game win streak. Somewhere in there, he failed to hit the median. But he had Galladay go down this week to injury, 0-point donut, and he still beat me, still scored 133 points. So to have that strong of a team where you can make up ground if somebody goes out, that speaks volumes to the depth. And if you look at his bench, his bench actually outscored most of his starters this week.
Yeah, I do. Oh my God,
he's got guys sitting there waiting to go. He's got Tony, who had a breakout performance this week, headbutting people.
Dude, he looks throwing punches right now. Yeah, I mean, he tried punching a guy in the helmet.
That's my kind of guy. I mean, that could be the new Antonio Brown for me. Like, send Tony. Like, send him my way.
Well, and the fact that he had, Jalen Hurts, who has been great for fantasy, has not looked great on the field specifically until the fourth quarter.
Awful.
When he just I don't know what he does in the fourth quarter, if he's over huffing, deer antler spray on the sideline or something, but he becomes a completely different guy in the fourth quarter, takes over. Like you said, Kenny Galladay with 0 points. Chase Edmonds had 2.9 points, and he's still, 132. I mean, it does help that you have Aaron Jones and Josh Allen. Robert Woods finally showed up this week.
Unfortunately.
Yes. Yeah, he's got a really good team, and I like that he's got a decent bench, too, that he can kind of sub those guys in.
Well, he cuffed both his running backs, too, so sitting at 9-1 this early in the season going to bye weeks, that's going to cover you on injuries. It's he's set up pretty well for a long haul here.
Yeah, I agree. The third, I chose myself in third place here. I'm the third highest scorer in the league, only by a handful of points. Kyle Phillips has actually scored 2 less points than me. But the fact that I lost to Don in week 1, he scored, I think, like 150 some points that first week. I believe he was the league leading scorer that week.
8-game win streak for you.
Yes, so I've won every game since then, including the medians. I like my team. Derrick Henry seems to be rolling in full form. I have Kareem Hunt, so I have 2 top 5 running backs right now. Emanuel Sanders. I don't know how he's doing it at 34 years old, and that he's the deep threat for that team.
On an explosive offense, and it's going to get you some points.
Kyle Pitts finally showed up for me this week, which is good. Of course, he goes on a bye next week, which is never great for me. So it'll be an uphill battle. Brandon Cooks, again, he had a down week this week, but he did play New England. They're going to take away their best option. And Damian Harris, who finished with 9.8, but that could have easily been 17 points. I don't know if you saw that game, but
yeah, we saw the fumble on
dove
the
into the end zone just to get it knocked out, literally as he's crossing the goal line.
I think that's the second one this year too. Yeah, just like that.
Well, and then he goes down with a rib injury. They say it's not serious, which I'm gonna believe them on. I'm praying right now because I need all my running backs that I can get. But I like my team. Calvin Ridley was out, and I still scored 150 points.
Do we even know what's happened with him? Is that like a vaccine thing?
No, I don't know. It was not COVID related. They said it was a personal issue from the reports that I read. I don't know, but I nicknamed him Mommy Issues. So I would have to think it's something with the family because he didn't travel. He didn't even travel with the team. It wasn't that he was like, oh, I'm nursing some injury, I'll still travel, or whatever it is. It was a personal thing that took him off the field, and at least he has 2 full weeks to resolve this before getting back out there. He's been disappointing so far, but I think that going forward, he's going to kind of step it up. It looks like Matt Ryan's getting a little bit more comfortable in that offense.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets are a good team to get the ship righted against and try some different things out, and man, are the Jets bad.
I thought they had redeemed themselves 2 weeks ago, and they came back and they just looked like terrible again.
Sit your Jets. If you got any Jets, don't start those guys. That's my advice to you.
All right, who do you got for number 4 here?
So number 4 in my power rankings, I'm actually going to put Getty there is number 4 in the league.
Okay. So our top 4 are the same.
Yep. So 7-3, he's on a 4-game win streak. Some of his slow starters are starting to perform a little bit. Justin Herbert looks like a top 5 quarterback.
Absolutely.
So great trade to get him. Najee Harris looks like a top 5 running back. Jonathan Taylor looks like a top 5 running back. Some weaknesses at receiver, lots of question marks. But he did make that trade for Antonio Brown. So Antonio Brown, as long as he has a good game, that's going to really propel Michael's team.
Tom Brady's looking like he's going to get a touchdown to every single guy every week.
Absolutely.
I know Chase Claypool down here hasn't performed all that well overall this season. Had a good game this past week. And with Juju going down, that's huge. So that could really play a huge part in his team. And I do like his team. I do think he's like right up there with all the other guys here that we've mentioned so far, including myself. Because like you said, he kind of had a slower start. All his team's kind of pulling it together here, and we got a tough matchup. I have a tough matchup with him this week.
Yeah, historically in our league, the top 4 teams usually get some separation from the rest of the pack. There's usually 4 front runners, and then that 5 and 6 playoff spot is really just like a knock them down, drag them out.
Yeah, like I said,
for all.
This week will be really interesting because Don and Spitzer play each other, so they could each go 1-1. One could go 2-0. One could go 1-1. Who knows? But that'll kind of shake up the very, very top, and then me and Mike play.
Can we just have them go both 0-2?
Yeah, can they both lose, and then they could both tie.
It's true.
And then get below the median.
Let's go for a tie.
1-1. So, but I mean, right now there's a possibility that Getty could jump up into first. There's a possibility I could jump into first. There's a possibility that nothing really changes, and that we kind of stay in the same positions. But be interesting just because the top 4 people play each other.
Sure.
All right, number 5 here. I went with Phillips. I really do like his team. He has scored a lot of points, and Dalvin Cook hasn't even played all the games. So I think he's got a really strong one. Cooper Kupp obviously was dominating. Darren Waller, Amari Cooper. I'm not a huge fan of his quarterbacks, but in our league, you can kind of substitute. You don't need the top quarterbacks all the time necessarily to be considered a really good one. And I mean, Nick Chubb is another one that's phenomenal. I just like it top to bottom. He's got a really solid one. He's just had some unfortunate luck. I don't think they've been able to put it together every single week for him, which is why he's sitting at 5-5.
Yeah, well, finally, no in-game injury for Phillips, so that's great news. One of the highest point totals in the league. I believe he's 4th.
Yeah, he's right behind me by 2 points.
Definitely a contender. I'm a little upset that I have to play him twice. I played him week 1, so I get to play him again. The last week of the season. He's going to get Dalvin Cook back from injury. I think we talked about that last week, that the best possible thing the Vikings could do is sit Dalvin Cook for a week.
Yeah, agreed.
Let him get injured. Let him get injury free. Let him get healthy, and then bring him back when he's full strength. Like, you have a capable backup. So in the long run, that's going to end up being better for Phillips' team versus him playing 10 snaps every week and re-injuring.
It's just better for the Vikings in general. That means, maybe not necessarily for Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, who might get less looks out there when Cook is there because they like to check it down.
No looks.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to him. Sorry about that trade. But Kirk Cousins being able to check down there, also just opening up the field a little bit more in case he wants to spread it out to Thielen or Jefferson. I just think in general, like, everybody, the whole team kind of benefits fantasy wise and real football wise.
Well, Michael and I were watching the Vikings game too, and the Vikings, more than any other team, are a team that plays not to lose. So anytime they get a lead, it's like, ooh, now we get to run the ball 36 times, and that doesn't work in the NFL. Like, it just doesn't. They've tried to do it for so long, and
that's the Mike McCarthy approach.
I think Zimmer still thinks he has a great defense, and like, the only way that you can do that is if you have a great defense.
I agree.
The Vikings don't. They can't even stop the Lions and Jared Goff. So it's like, you can't play this way. Like, I think from midway through the third quarter through the end of the fourth quarter, I don't know. They made it through the ball like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, it was really bizarre. Obviously, I have Kirk Cousins, so I wasn't a huge fan of that. He looked great the first couple weeks.
Run and punt. And like, what are you doing? Like, I hope they lose. Like, and they almost did. They got super lucky. And I was actively sitting on Michael's couch rooting for them to lose. I'm like, I hope they blow this game because maybe they'll stop this like terrible, awful approach to football. Like, could you imagine paying for that game and sitting there like, what the hell am I watching?
Yeah, they did not look good. They did not look good last week either.
Save that shit for London.
All right, so number 6.
So you had Phillips.
I had Phillips at 5.
At 5. So I flip flop Briggs and Phillips.
Okay.
I had Briggs at 5, Phillips at 6.
I do like Briggs here. I have him a little bit further down actually.
Yeah,
on my power rankings.
Briggs is on a 4-game win streak. He's got Kamara is finally starting to hit his groove, which is really good for his team. He did lose Saquon to injury, which is going to hurt, but he's got some fab. Maybe he can go after some replacement talent. And then his Ravens are showing out. So Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown, the George Kittle trade he made turned out to be a very strong one. He chose the right guy to trade away.
Yep, and because Kittle's out for...
Kittle is on injured reserve, and Mark Andrews just scored 36 points.
So, almost lost to him in another league.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Great commissioner move, great trade, or commissioner, great owner move. Really paid off for his team, and he's competing every week hitting the median.
I do like the depth that Briggs has.
Yeah.
I have him a little bit further down. I actually have him at 9.
Okay.
Yeah, so quite a bit further down. And I'll kind of explain that as, going forward here. But I do like that he has Miles Sanders and McNichols, Jeremy McNichols, who might not get a lot of work, but even with Derrick Henry scoring a lot of points, he's somehow getting in there. But at least he has those guys to kind of substitute in for Kamara and Barkley when they're on bye weeks and, kind of going forward. So
yeah, Briggs at 6 and 4, Phillips at 5 and 5. So we're on to number 7.
Number 7, I Well, I had Jackie at number 6, actually.
Okay. I got Jackie at 7.
So I just like her team. I mean, Tannehill's going to get better. He had kind of a slower start. He actually had a good week 1, didn't he? No, week 3 he had. Yeah, so he's kind of had a slower start overall. But it doesn't help that your top 2 wide receivers are out. Who knows what's going on with A.J. Brown specifically? I mean, I don't know if he'll return to form like he did last year.
I mean, we were talking
Julio,
before
the same thing.
If you're injured before the season starts and you already can't run, and you got 17 games to go, it's probably not going to go well for you.
But Austin Eckler he was a guy that I have had my eyes on. I have him in another league.
Yeah, what a stud.
Absolutely balling out. I know Jackie's been a fan of Austin Eckler in the past, so it's good to see him still on her team.
And getting Gronkowski back.
Getting Gronk back. I don't know about the Trey Lance thing. But Stefan Diggs has had a very underperforming season. I really do like DJ Moore. I mean, he showed through the first 4 weeks that he was great, and he had a down week this week.
DJ Moore probably doing what Stefan Diggs should have been doing.
Yes, exactly. But I think Diggs is going to come around. I can't imagine that his underproduction continues in the way that it did. Emanuel Sanders, luckily, is taking away a lot of those deep targets that he was getting last season, but
she has Jameson Winston on her bench too, so he's probably going in for Trey Lance.
Darnell Mooney, who could be, if the Justin Fields things pays off, he seems to be kind of a favorite target of his. And like you said, Gronk coming back from injury. I just think Deontay Johnson, who's just a PPR machine.
Without Juju, someone's going to get those targets.
Exactly. So I really do like hers. I mean, and Cordero, I don't expect Cordero to be 26-point Cordero Patterson every week. But if we can get, 15 points out of him, 10, 15 points, that's great.
That's the first time I watched him in person, besides just the highlights. And the things he was doing is on a ridiculous percentage of the snaps, is 30%.
Yeah.
But in this London game, he was on the field a lot more, 70%, 75% of the time. And he was part of the offense. I mean, they're running plays for him.
They're really using him and Mike Davis kind of evenly right now. So I think he's great. That's why I have Jackie a little bit higher.
Yeah, just don't have him throw the ball. They try to have him throw the ball and he gets almost concussed. Come on, Falcons. You're better than that.
So you had Jackie at 7. I had her at 6. I actually have you at 7.
All right, let's go. I put myself at number 10 just because I'm humble.
Yeah, You've got a really strong team, and again, I think they're kind of underperforming. I think Jameson Crowder is going to be coming back to form. Lamar Jackson scored 42 points this week, looked phenomenal, and like I said, I've been a big fan. He's developing as that passer now, and he just gets it done on all facets of the ground. I saw him turning defenders around with his jukes last night. It was just incredible, and I'm just how is he even avoiding these tackles? It just blows my mind. I do think the Cardinals' defense is legit, so I like that in there. And Adam Thielen, when they get Dalvin Cook back, I think that just really opens up the offense. And Thielen they just haven't been able to get into the red zone.
Right.
And that's where Thielen really thrived in the first couple weeks. So I think if they get Cook back and they can actually move down the field, Thielen's going to really kind of come back into form there. I like CeeDee Lamb. Leonard Fournette's having a great season so far.
Yeah, big trade for me. He's probably been one of my favorite players on my team, and somebody historically who I liked on the Jaguars, but had a couple down seasons there where he kind of got shuffled to the back and really bought into Bruce Arians' system, and Bruce Arians is rewarding him for that confidence, and that was a big pickup for me.
Yeah, I agree. Looking at your bench here too, Chris Carson being hurt right now, he'll come back at some point, and without Russell Wilson for possibly a season, he's going to get a lot more work. Jerry Jeudy going to be coming off IR here pretty soon, and if he comes back healthy, he's going to be a really good guy as well. Going to take a lot of targets out.
Well, one other thing that would probably help my team is if you guys would just chill the fuck out when you play me.
Yeah.
640 points against third in the league. Justin's leading the way with that, 690 against him. Erica at 670, and then me at 640. So, I mean,
people are scoring points.
Give it a break, dudes. Give it a break.
So I had you at 7. You had Jackie at 7. What do you got for 8?
All right. So number 8, I have Kirill, and his star players are going to keep him in every week.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the 5th highest total points in the in the league so far at 621, just behind Phillips at 628.
I believe he in that
at 630.
In that 188-point game, I believe that's the second highest scoring week of all time.
So,
and at least since we started on Sleeper.
Yeah, I mean, he's got DK Metcalf, he's got Ezekiel Elliott, he's got Tyreek Hill. Those guys are going to keep him in every game. He's got some question marks at quarterback, but he can play the matchup since he has 3.
Yep.
And that just those guys are going to keep him in every week. He's going to be competitive every week, and you and I both know Carill's always got to trade up his sleeve.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and he's got the star power to get a trade done if he needs to.
He's somebody. You guys have been balling out against Kirill too. 615 points against Kirill. So
yeah, I really like Kirill's team here. I'm trying to see. I actually had Kirill a little bit further down only because of the Zeke injury. We don't really know what's kind of going on there, and the fact that he doesn't have David Montgomery.
What the hell is in a pylon? By the way, I thought those things were rubber.
Yeah, I thought they were like foam.
Apparently, there's like sharp glass and rocks in there. Like
the way he fell was like really awkward on that. But yeah, I would have never guessed that he would have gotten an injury from that.
The way that those things go flying, you wouldn't think there's anything in them except rubber or foam or something.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, until he gets David Montgomery back, Damian Williams, who did fine this week, I think he's got a tough matchup next week with the Packers. And the Bears just historically don't play the Packers well, at least in the last, 20-ish years. Every now and then they have a good season, but
have you taken
for whatever reason they just don't play that well. What was that?
Have you taken a peek at the Bears schedule?
I have not looked at the Bears schedule.
They might not win. I think they play the Lions later in the year, and that might be the only other game they have a chance.
Green Bay, Tampa Bay, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, bye week. Then Baltimore after the bye.
Yeah.
So
they're not going to win another game until they play the Lions.
It's going to be a tough go. So even if David Montgomery comes back, it's going to be a tough go. They got a lot of tough defenses. And DK, the reason why I have Kirill further down, DK Metcalf losing Russell Wilson.
Sure.
Geno Smith seemed to get it done.
Yeah, I mean,
however,
see.
I don't. You can't really take that. There's such a drop off from Russell Wilson to whomever you're replacing.
When you can game plan against Geno Smith versus having it be a surprise, it's going to be a different story.
Right.
Plus, we know Pete Carroll, like he didn't let Russell Wilson throw the ball more than 25 times a game.
Yeah, which is stupid.
What's he going to do?
He's literally your
Smith?
best player on the team.
I mean, it's going to be Alex Collins. It's going to be Chris Carson. It's going to be maybe Travis Homer, DJ Dallas. You're going to get a lot of dump offs. You're going to get a lot of running plays. If you don't let Russell Wilson cook, you're going to let Geno Smith cook. I mean, that's something you have to really think about.
So, yeah, that's kind of why I had Kirill a little bit further down. Actually, I had him sitting at 10, so right behind Briggs. In my number 8 spot, I had Nick.
Okay.
Who's sitting at 5-5. He is on a little bit of a slide on a 3-game losing streak here. So, lost to the median and lost against me. And
got some injuries piling up.
Yep. But, I mean, DeAndre Swift is, I think, a really solid one. Seems to be, quote unquote, a steal of the draft, if you will, just for the value that you probably got him for. Joe Mixon, I mean, dealing with a little bit of an injury there, but has been an awesome running back so far this season. Matt Stafford on that offense looks phenomenal. TJ Hawkinson, I don't really know what happened this week, but seemed to be a focal point as well.
He's been he's got some injuries he's dealing with too.
Yeah,
not at 100%.
I mean, the Bills' defense is phenomenal. I believe they're the number 1 defense this year. So I like him. He's got some injuries. Julio's injured. Will Fuller's injured.
He could be the broken finger team. I think. Yeah. I think Matt Stafford's got a broken finger.
Oh my God! That's change your name. Change your name from Team Nick Seacott to Team Broken Fingers,
Team
please.
2 Fingers.
But he's got some really good guys, and he's got some injuries piling up. So I'm going to put him a little bit higher on my list than maybe than his record really kind of reflects. He scored, just about 600 points, so he's kind of in the middle of the league there with that. But I do think, when those guys come off injuries, I can definitely see Nick's team kind of turning it around, which is why I kind of put him in the middle of the league here at 8.
Yeah, I had Nick at 9.
Okay. So I had Briggs at 9. Who did you have at 9? Or you had Nick at 9, and then what do we got?
Nick at 9,
10?
And I had myself at 10.
Okay. I had Kirill at 10. 11, I have Erica.
Yep, same thing for me. I have Erica currently on a 4-game losing streak.
She's got a lot of injuries going on.
670 points against Erica, too.
Yeah.
People are balling out against her.
Well, Patrick Mahomes had a down week this week. I don't really know what's going on with the Chiefs' offense, but they kind of look a little slow. I don't expect that to to continue by any means. Andy Reid's a phenomenal offensive mind, and Patrick Mahomes just makes fucking magic happen every time he's on the field.
Well, I think one thing you have to think about too is they've had, was it 3 years of success now, or two or 3 years where they've pretty much just owned the league, been able to do anything they can offensively. But I think some teams have actually started gearing their defense up to stop them. And I think
There's enough game film on there as well.
I think Tampa Bay gave people the blueprint last year in the Super Bowl about how to slow them down. And while maybe some defenses can't necessarily copy
I think their injured
personnel,
offensive line really kind of helps.
Yeah,
unfortunately, with that one.
I mean, they didn't look good against the Bills.
Nope.
They didn't look good against the Chargers.
Nope.
They looked okay against the Ravens, but the Ravens also stopped them a little bit, even though it was kind of a shootout. So there's some trouble ahead for the Chiefs, I think. I don't know if necessarily they're a Super Bowl favorite this year. I think there might be some other teams that have jumped them a little bit. But one thing with Erica's team is her points for aren't that great either. She only has 550 points.
I agree.
So she's in a pretty good spot, I think, in our rankings. Or she only has 550. She's not got a lot of stars in her lineup. She's kind of down to Justin Jefferson and Mahomes.
I look at Erica here at 10 and kind of anybody in this spot, 8, 9, 10 spot, as they all have good teams.
Right.
I don't think they're not bottom of the league teams right now, but they have injuries. They've been getting a lot of points scored against them, which can cause you to be a little bit lower.
Right.
But you have the star power that you can easily just get back into the league, get back in, win and get into the playoffs.
Well, McCaffrey coming back too this week.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard's been should be okay. Fine. But
the guy who won $1 million on DraftKings this week had Chuba Hubbard in their lineup. Yeah.
Oh my God. But you know what I mean? Like, he's been serviceable, but he's not Christian McCaffrey. Right. He's easily going to score 7 to 10 points less than Christian McCaffrey on any given week. Right. And that's not to say that Christian McCaffrey doesn't go nuclear and get 40. So, but I mean, Justin Jefferson, Patrick Mahomes, I don't think those are get worse. Those are going to only improve. Christian McCaffrey is going to come back. Logan Thomas is going to come back. They use him a lot. So I can definitely see, I put her at the bottom of the middle. Right. That's kind of that's why I put her at 10 there.
So number 12, I've got Justin.
Or 11. Yep.
And Justin's team is
also have Justin here.
Riddled by injuries. Just to cap off a really poor week for him, CEH gets injured too on Sunday night. So
yeah, it's not looking good for him with injuries.
Kittle,
he obviously he wasn't performing as well as he had hoped with the team that he drafted. He made some trades, made a trade with you, right. And then just to have those guys get hurt, it's just like it's really tough to see that. I also have Justin at 12 here. I feel Dave kind of similar in that boat, who just kept getting riddled with injuries. I mean, that's why they're down as far as they are in our power rankings.
Well, this is a tough league because it is so competitive, where if you get bad luck coupled with injuries, it can kind of add up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I had really high hopes for Juju.
690 points against Justin too.
Is that the league high?
He still put 130 points up this week, and he still lost.
Yeah,
so
that's tough.
You can only do so much, and at some point, sometimes the fantasy guys just aren't looking at you, and this could be one of those weeks.
He has a decent amount of fab, so maybe he can make a move here going into this week, at least to get somebody, and then he's going to have to figure out another trade selection. Unfortunately, I don't want him to lose Devontae, but with all of the injuries that he's had, he might have to move Devontae to get a couple other pieces going for him.
Trade him to me.
Yep. Send us Devontae. Send Devontae. All right, at number 13 here, we have Dave. We kind of talked about this, very similar to Justin here. Dealt with a lot of injuries. I mean, the fact that he ended up getting
this week mid-game,
Samaje Perine, and then who's COVID-y. I don't know what the hell's going on with that.
Well, if Danny Dimes doesn't go down this week, Dave probably wins this week. Yeah. Maybe even hits the median. But probably lost out on 20 and 25 points from Daniel Jones this week, which really sucks.
Terry McLaurin, four catches on 11 targets. Hey. So he could have easily overcome the median and possibly gotten a win out of this week. But, Myles Gaskin, who I don't really know what's happening there. Right. He was absolutely terrible. Dave was right to bench him, and then he obviously has a fucking amazing game.
Yeah, I dropped him straight up in my other league because this guy's cooked or whatever. And
I kept him on my bench.
You can't run against Tampa Bay, so his skill set is actually geared pretty heavily towards how you beat Tampa. You just do
10 for 10, 74 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, so phenomenal game for him.
I don't foresee him doing that again. Once they go back to the ground, you're probably going to see more of the other guys, Malcolm Brown and Salvin Ahmed.
I still have high hopes for Gaskin. We'll kind of see going forward, but again, he's just got, Tua was hurt, Jarvis Landry's hurt, Devontae Parker's out
this week, most likely.
Hopefully, they need him.
Yep,
they need him. But he's just got a lot of injuries, and there's too many question marks for me to put him higher. I mean, Daniel Jones even got hurt this week.
The Dolphins suck, man. The Dolphins need to do something.
They're bad.
They were contenders last year. They looked good in all their games, and you can say more of the opposite this year. That team just looks like complete trash.
Yeah. What if the Dolphins would have drafted another quarterback on that instead of Tua,
or traded for? They could get Deshaun Watson. Do something
that was the trade talk at the beginning of the year. Yeah, they need to figure out something. But
their team's not good.
All right, I think we all know who's the bottom of the barrel here.
Yeah, Pat sitting at 1-9, 5-game losing streak. He's got 350 points for. And 596 points against.
Yeah, and
probably without a quarterback this week.
I'm not even gonna really go into too many details here.
Yeah.
His team sucks.
Yeah,
it's bad.
It's a tough go because he needs Brissett to play one more week to get past Jimmy Garoppolo's bye, and I don't know that Brissett's going to play this week. So there's some options on the waiver wire. Davis Mills is out there. Geno Smith is out there. Andy Dalton.
Does he have any fab left? He does not have any fab left.
No.
So, we're really kind of seeing a reflection right now in the trades that he was making earlier. Those guys that he traded away are doing phenomenal. He got nothing for them. He's at the bottom. They're at the top. I don't know how. I've been in trade talks with Pat recently, and he's insulted by the trades that we're offering him, yet he's giving away, Mike Williams, who is the number one wide receiver on the season right now, for nothing. So I don't really know what his team's doing. He's got to make some moves, and I don't really know I don't know what he can possibly even do. So, but yeah, that is it for the power rankings here. If you have your own power rankings, feel free, again, drop it down in the comments. Let us know in the league chat, whatever you guys want to end up doing with that. But we'll probably circle around to power rankings a little bit later in the season. Yeah, maybe in a couple more weeks, and we'll see where we're at. But I think that was pretty fair. We had pretty similar ones. We had a lot of the same positions, and in that middle bunch of people, that's where we really had a lot of those differences. But that's going to be that's a toss up every week for those guys. So. All right, so I thought, I've been looking. I don't know if a lot of the league members are aware, but if you go to the league, and at the very top on the league section of our league, it's where you see all the matchups every week. That's where the weekly report is. At the very top, it says league settings. You can hit that little icon up there, and you can actually scroll down, and on the bottom is a league history. And I just thought it's been really interesting, and I'm glad that Sleeper tracks all of this, and it makes it really easy to take a look at. There's just some really cool, interesting stuff that you can look at: how many transactions you've had, how many messages you've sent,
right?
Your overall all-time standings. They got the high scores every week, player high scores, and they even have like the playoff brackets from previous years, so you can actually take a look and see what all happened, what your matchups were, why people won. And so I just kind of wanted to dissect that a little bit, and I thought it was kind of funny that I've been in this league now, this is year 5. So I actually started 1 year on ESPN, and then we moved over to Sleeper.
Right. Coincidentally, the year I won, right before we moved over, so I can't see my stats from that year.
So Justin won in 2018. Pat won in 2019. I want to talk about that. And then it took that year off in 2020, which apparently allowed me to win. But now that Pat's back in the league, he's probably going to end up winning in 2021 here. According to him, he's going back to back.
Well, you have
taking a year off. So
all-time best winning percentage too. You just bumped ahead of Erica.
I just moved past Erica, which I was surprised about. I know that she's kind of having like a little bit more of a down year than we're used to Erica having. But
28-19 for you.
She's literally sat on top of the all-time winning team list for a very long time. I take a look at this every now and then just to see what happens. Who has the most points for? Is it Justin?
Justin has me edged out. Justin's got 4,935 points since we moved to Sleeper, and I'm right behind him at 4,806.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I'm not even remotely close to that.
It's cool that you guys are consistent throughout the years and beating the shit out of my team because I have the most points
scored against
4,700.
That's why you need to score the most points.
It's unbelievable. I'm sitting at 22 and 24 and 1.
Yeah.
And I've got all these points scored for me and points against me.
Philip's team name really kind of working for him here. 15 and 31 and 1. I believe you tied him. Oh, no, you didn't tie him. You tied Jackie's brother.
Yeah, Jeremy.
Yeah. But Philip is sitting at the bottom in last place at 15, 31, and 1. 31% winning percentage.
He had a rough go last year. I think his team was injured all season last year. So that's kind of skewed that way.
Yep. Don's up there. Spitz is up there. Justin's up there. All the top people really have very similar records here. Justin 26 and 21, and he's having a down year this year. So he was even, I think, higher up on the list before the season started. Don and Spitz are both at 27 and 20. So if they both go 1-1, they stay there, which is just crazy.
Yeah. So Pat's got the top amount of transactions.
How many does he have? 480? Oh, my God.
I'm right behind him at 461, which is a lot of transactions.
Yeah, I think I have 102 transactions.
In comparison to that, Erica has 62.
Yeah. 62 and Bob Jew 53. But he wasn't in the league. He's only been in the league the last
season and a half.
Years, yeah. But yeah, I love looking at the all-time weekly highest scores here. Actually, you're sitting at the top. We talked about this earlier in the podcast here at 196.22.
That was a hell of a week. I actually have two of the top three.
Two of the top three. Oh my God, yeah. And Kirill this season, week 4, so 2 weeks ago, he had that 188.94 week. Just absolutely every guy on his team went off. I mean, when you're scoring that many points, it's incredible.
Oh yeah, and then Phillips actually week 1 this year, he played me.
Thanks, that's buddy. Right.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
There you go. Kirill has another one, 2019, scored 171 points. Justin, 169.5. Erica on this list, 167.84 in 2018, week 7.
She probably played against me.
Probably. Justin actually has 3 out of the top 10. 2020, 2019, and 2019. Wow, that was 2019 the year he won?
Yeah, that was the year he won.
No, 2018 was the year he won.
Oh, yeah, 2019, Pat.
2019, I believe, was the year that I think he snuck into the... You can actually take a look at this. So I believe he kind of snuck into the playoffs in 2019 here. Let's take a look. And Justin ended with... What was his record? Does it say on here... somewhere? Justin was 5th at 7-6, but he had an unbelievable amount of points. I believe he's league leading point scorer at 1,544.7, which is
hell of a year,
almost 100 points higher than anybody else. And I remember talking about it with him, and he said that he should have gone back to back on that season. And it looks like, if I am looking here, that's the consolation bracket. Justin's not in that one. Yeah, he got edged out by Pat, unfortunately, in the first week, who Pat had a phenomenal playoff run that year.
Right.
132 points week 1, 125 points to beat Eric in week 2, 129 points to beat Spitzer. And I mean, when you're doing that in the playoffs, it's tough. I mean, it's hard to overcome that.
That's it looks like it's cool they have the all-time player high scores on here too.
Yeah.
So Kamara at the top is the top scorer since we've been on Sleeper.
I did beat him
in the
last year in the championship round, and I overcame that. So I'm pretty happy about that. And what I'm more happy about is Derrick Henry is on this list twice.
Yep. Once this year.
And I have owned him both times, and he's been on the list. So thank you, Derrick Henry. Everybody knows I love Derrick Henry, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, that Will Fuller game happened. That was how you got that high score.
Yeah,
46.7 points.
Tyreek Hill had 52 points for Pat last season, 2020.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so crazy.
No, he wasn't on Pat. Pat wasn't in the league last year.
I think, is this who has him now?
It must
I
be
wonder.
who has him.
It must be who has him now.
Must be who has him now.
Does Getty have Dalvin Cook? No.
He did last year though.
Yeah. So that's weird. I don't know.
Who was on?
Pat wasn't in the league last year.
Oh, Swift.
Oh, that's why he's not
Yeah,
in the.
so
that's why it's not.
Pat took Swift's spot, so
Yep,
that
makes sense.
Tyreek Hill game was on
That makes
Swift's
sense.
team last year.
Okay. I also had Christian McCaffrey here. So I've owned quite a few of the players while they've had their top scores. I remember that Christian McCaffrey game.
This is a really cool.
I think I lost that week.
Really cool section. Really dives into everything that we've done and been through as a league, and just straight
It's
up
fun to take a look
straight
back.
up competition every season, every year.
We've had a pretty consistent, minus like maybe one person in the league kind of rotating, but having a really consistent league allows you to kind of look at this with, a little bit more eyes and just have a little bit more fun with it to see, me and Don went 9-4 last year at the top of the league. So it's just kind of fun to take a look. Erica 10-3 the year before that, Justin 11-2. But yeah, it's just fun, man. Some of these teams, it's just kind of cool to take a look at that. I just thought it was interesting. So yeah, you can go back all the way back to 2018 when we switched over, and it literally breaks down every single season. It breaks our all-time standings down. You can see how many transactions were made, how many messages were sent in any given year. Go with the playoff brackets, and obviously, I believe that you can go back and then kind of dissect out different weeks in your own team function.
Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty awesome move to get over from ESPN and get over to Sleeper.
100%. 100%.
I'm still in a league.
Great move, Mike.
Yeah, I'm
Great
still
call.
in a league that's on ESPN, and it's so tough to even like pick a player up. I don't like when I have to go to waivers or like pick somebody up. I usually just like quit looking at it because there's like too many buttons to
It's
press.
just outdated and
it's just like I don't like it.
Sleeper constantly putting in new updates. Every single week there's bug fixes. The updates channel. I'm just been a big fan of Sleeper since we moved over. I've been trying to move over other leagues to Sleeper, but they're like, well, we don't want another fantasy football app. And I'm like, if you use this app, you will never have another fantasy football app.
ESPN Fantasy is such a cash grab now. You got to subscribe and do all this stuff to read any of their articles, and like, there's no analysis on the website anymore. It's just kind of dumb. It's outdated. Like, I think I was talking to Michael, our Dynasty League next year that we're gonna start up. That's also going to be on Sleeper as well. So
okay, perfect. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Going to be interesting. Going to be awesome. But great move to move over to Sleeper. Our league just kind of went to the next level once we moved over.
I agree. All right, guys. So last little segment here. We've kind of already dissected a lot of people's teams today, so we won't spend too much time on this, but I think it's always fun to kind of go over the upcoming matchups of the week. So the first matchup we got this week here, at least on our screen, I have Kirill Pokeballers versus Team Nick Seacott, who, come on, Nick. Just update your goddamn team name, bro.
Yeah, broken pinky. Something.
Yeah.
Something
the broken fingers. Actually, a really close projection here, 121.14 to 122.95. It's going to be tough. It just kind of depends. If the injuries on Kirill's side actually take them out of the game, I got to give it to Nick. I think I'm going to give it to Nick anyway. I think I'm going to give this one to Nick.
I pick Nick every week on the podcast, and I'm going to switch this week. I'm going to pick Kirill to win. I think he can play those quarterback matchups. He's got Heineke versus KC, which could be a shootout. He could get some points there. So I'm going to take Kirill in this matchup.
Okay. Next matchup we got here, we got David, the Rubicon Revengers, versus last place Kyle Phillips, who's not in last place, ironically. Right now, Dave's team is like extremely injured, and he does have Tua back, but they haven't updated his projections yet.
Also, just getting Tua back, he's going to lose Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, I was just going to say. So I mean, honestly, even if those guys are healthy, Kyle's projected 133.15 points. I'm going to go with Kyle in this matchup.
So a lot of it hinges on Dalvin Cook, I think. If we get a full healthy Dalvin Cook, Phillips is going to win pretty easily. I think if Cook sits again and Phillips has to rely on anybody on the Eagles, it's going to be much closer than what the projection is right now. I think it's like a 20-point swing if Cook doesn't play.
That's true.
So I'm actually going to take David for the upset this week.
Oh, wow. Big upset here. I like it. Next matchup here, Team Sneaky Nico with Erica sitting at 3-7 versus Jackie. Fins for the win, silent sweeper. Again, I think this is just they haven't updated their, with the bye weeks and stuff. They haven't put people in. They haven't subbed things around. Is Christian McCaffrey supposed to be back this week? I think that's the big question.
I mean, he was close last week, so you would have to think. He's
going to be questionable, maybe game time decision. Yeah. It's going to be a lot closer than the projection here, but if Christian McCaffrey plays, I got to give it to, I'm sure it'll still be considered an upset with the projections. Because Chuba Hubbard right now is projected 2.2 points.
Yeah, I mean, Jackie's going to be on one quarterback this week. She's got Trey Lance and Jameis Winston both on a bye.
Oh, yeah.
So that kind of evens the playing field a little bit for Erica as far as not having to face two quarterbacks. Josh Jacobs is going to go in for All-World Cordell Patterson.
Yes.
And then Erica's got Corey Davis on a bye. So I'm going to take Jackie in this matchup.
Okay. I'll take Erica if Christian McCaffrey plays. I think it's going to be a very uphill battle if Christian McCaffrey can't play.
And Jackie potentially gets Gronk back too. So that's going to be a strong recovery from injury.
Okay. All right. We got the milkman himself in this next matchup. Pat sitting at 1-9 versus Justin 3-7. I think this is a redemption match for Justin here, even with all of his injuries. I just don't see... honestly, it's embarrassing that Dave even lost to Pat in the first place. So I don't see Pat winning another game.
Yeah, I mean, Pat is going to be without a quarterback this week, it seems like, with Tua coming back. But he can go get Davis Mills maybe, or maybe he can get somebody.
That's true. But he's still got his super flex is empty right now. His tight end position is empty right now. He has 0 fab. So he's either hoping that somebody drops somebody or that he can get somebody that nobody wants, because you bet $1 and you get it over Pat.
Yeah, I mean, if this is a week that Pat can sneak out a victory with Justin's team, just absolutely Russell Wilson, CEH, Trey Sermon on a bye, Kittle's out, Juju's out. So we'll see what happens, what Justin can make happen with Fab. I expect him to be a heavy player in Fab. I'm going to give it to...
Don't say it.
I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it to Justin.
Don't say it.
Pat doesn't have a quarterback. If Pat can sneak out a quarterback on the waiver wire somehow, it'll be closer than what it is right now. But as of right now, one quarterback versus 0 quarterbacks, I'm gonna go with Justin.
Okay. And then this is this next matchup here is my matchup of the week. Actually, Team Don
9-1 versus 9-1.
Also, update your team name, Don.
Can we flex this game up to Sunday night?
Yeah, can we please? But yeah, so the number 1 team versus the number 2 team, they both have identical records right now. I believe Spitzer has the slight edge in points, total points scored, but they're both projected the second and third highest projections in the league right now.
Both teams at full strength too, no buys.
No buys. It's gonna be a big matchup here. And this can really, again, like we talked about earlier, really shake up the top of the leaderboard here.
Deebo Samuel on a bye for Don, actually.
Yeah, but Kenny Galladay is questionable. Don's got a lot of questionable guys here, but
Kenny Galladay is going to be out, I believe.
Kenny Galladay is going to be out. Okay. I'm going to have to give it, honestly, I think I picked Spitzer in every single matchup so far, and it's really hard to overcome Tom Brady, who can throw 5 touchdowns and 400 yards in any given week. Kyler Murray, who had a bad week the past 2 weeks, but who knows? Granted, I think he had 1 rushing yard this past week.
No, he hasn't had to. His they actually put up a stat in the game. He's like the top accuracy passer in the league. Okay, who would have thought that?
Yeah, I would have never guessed that. But I got to give it to Spitzer here.
Just to play devil's advocate, I'm going to take Don.
Okay.
So I like these guys the last 2 weeks of my fantasy life. It's been terrible.
Yeah,
I'm glad to be done with it. And move
on
to different matchups.
In my end of the year, so I play Don week 1. I play Spitzer followed by Don to end the season. So there could be some very serious fantasy implications on these matchups here at the end of the year.
Yeah, I came out of the stretch 1 for 3. Very easily could have come out 3-1, but
yeah,
life goes on.
All right, last 2 matchups. Let's see. I got you versus Doug Dimmadome or Adam Briggs, as we all like to know him. You got a pretty considerable margin over him right now. He doesn't have any buys.
Kamara on a bye.
Oh, Kamara on a bye, but he's already on the bench. So I'm just looking at projections in general. Yeah, I mean, unless Mark Andrews has another 37-point game, I'm gonna go with you.
Yeah, I picked a good week to play against Briggs with Barkley out and Kamara on a bye, so he could easily be a player tomorrow with the free agency. The one issue with this matchup that I have is I have Lamar Jackson, and he's got Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews. So,
yeah, if he plays well, you could.
He's kind of got me covered on one of my quarterback positions. So it's going to be closer than what the projection says. He also doesn't have Goff in on his super flex, which could easily be, he could substitute one of those guys out for Goff.
So it's going to be a little bit closer of a matchup.
Makes it closer. I'm going to pick myself. I like my stretch of games coming up, and I think I could go on a little bit of a run here.
Yeah, we talked about that, right before we started recording the podcast, and I 100% agree with you. And I'm going to take you. I like a lot of these matchups here. And I just, I like your team in general right now. You got a good stretch here.
Thanks, buddy. So last matchup, I got you versus Getty, which is, again, the number 3 and number 4 team showdown. So some really cool matchups this week. Right now, Michael is projected at 124. You're projected at 106. Your tight end spot's empty.
Yep. I'm looking. I got Kyle Pitts on a bye, unfortunately. Of course, he goes on a bye immediately after he has a good week. So I'll be looking at some waiver wire pickups here.
You got Matt Ryan on a bye too.
Yep. Calvin Ridley on a bye. So this is a big bye week for me.
Michael's got Allen Robinson on a full season bye.
Yes. But it's going to be close. I think if I can pick the right tight end with the good matchup here this week, I can probably get some extra points out of that. It still won't be a close in projection wise. But I mean, I got some tough matchups here. Kareem Hunt versus Arizona. Arizona's been a really good defense. Derrick Henry versus Buffalo. Yikes. Kirk Cousins against Carolina, who I actually have Carolina Panthers defense starting. So I actually am going to give the edge here to Mike. I do think Mike wins. My goal is to somehow sneak out a win in this. Yeah, obviously that's every week.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I want to at least beat the median.
Yeah,
that's my goal.
I think your win streak might be in jeopardy here. Yeah, Derrick Henry might get game planned out of that.
Unfortunately,
game scripted out of that game, and
I don't know if Damian Harris is going to play yet. I mean,
Jonathan Taylor,
he's going to play. Yeah, he's really got some excellent matchups here. So
I'm going to take Michael.
I'm going to give it to Mike right now. Like I said, my goal right here is to beat the median at the very least. And who knows what happens in any given Sunday scenario. Maybe I can win. But yeah, I think Mike's got a much better shot right now, which means depending on how many points he scores, he might sneak ahead of me.
Wow.
In the
shake everything up.
Yeah, exactly. So
it'll be interesting to see what happens this week, because we've got
this could either expand the lead even further, or it could separate us a little bit further at the top, or it could push everybody back down towards that middle again.
Yeah, we've got 8 teams that are within 3 games of each other.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really interesting matchup. So, but yeah, that's all we got for you guys. And
it's lime cutting time.
It's lime cutting time for you. But dude, we'll be back next Tuesday. We're gonna try to do it every Tuesday if it ends up working out for us. But dude, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like it. Comment down below, write in the league chat, tell everybody what we got going on. So,
there you go.
You guys, peace out.